Studio microphone title: Master Your Thoughts, Master Your Destiny. The battlefield is not out there. It's not in your job, not in your bank account, not in your circumstances. The battlefield is in your mind. And every day, every hour, every silent second, you are either winning that war or surrendering to thoughts that were never yours to begin with. Thoughts shape reality, not metaphorically, not someday. Right now, your outer world is nothing but a mirror of your inner dialogue. And yet most people walk through life as prisoners to voices they didn't choose. Voices from childhood, from trauma, from the media, from the world, telling them they are not enough, that they will never rise, that their dreams are just illusions. But let me tell you something, and I need you to feel this in your bones. You are not your thoughts. You are the master of your thoughts. And when you master your thoughts, you don't just change your mind. You change your destiny. Because the mind is the seed of all creation. Everything that has ever existed, every invention, every empire, every revolution, began with a single thought. When Thomas Edison lit the world, he didn't begin with wires and glass. He began with a thought, a vision so clear, so relentless, that no failure could erase it. When Henry Ford envisioned the automobile, he wasn't just building a machine. He was breaking a mental prison. He said, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. Because your mind obeys your beliefs. Your thoughts are the architects of your future. If you think small, your life shrinks to fit that cage. If you think bold, your world expands in ways others can't even see. The masses want to control the external. Change the weather, fix the economy, adjust the algorithm. But the few who rise, the few who dominate this world, are the ones who control the internal. The ones who sit in silence, go to war with doubt, replace weakness with will, and program their mind like a machine built for greatness. This isn't about fake positivity. This is about mental discipline. It's about becoming so intentional with your inner world that no storm outside can knock you off center. You wake up and you guard your mind like a fortress. You don't allow gossip, fear, or insecurity through the gates. You filter every thought like a sculptor shaping truth from stone. You remind yourself, I am not a victim. I am not average. I am not here to survive. I am here to command. That's the difference between drifting and destiny. The drifter reacts. The master creates. And if you don't consciously choose your thoughts, your past will choose them for you. But when you decide, truly decide, that your mind belongs to you and no one else, that your thoughts must align with your highest vision, that your self-talk must be stronger than your environment, you start to feel something shift. A power, a clarity, a fire. Because for the first time, you're no longer fighting life with broken tools. You're shaping it with precision. And once you begin to shape your thoughts, your beliefs begin to evolve. And belief is the engine of reality. You can't outwork a belief that tells you you're not worthy. You can't build a legacy on a foundation of doubt, because your actions will always default to what your mind believes is true. Most people don't fail because of lack of skill. They fail because their mind refuses to let them win. They were told too many times they weren't good enough. They were ridiculed for dreaming. They were shamed for wanting more. And eventually, they believed it. But belief isn't static. It can be rewritten. And the rewriting begins with clarity. You must ask yourself, what do I believe about success? What do I believe about wealth? What do I believe about love, power, purpose, myself? You must drag every limiting thought into the light and burn it at the altar of truth. Because belief is a choice, is not something handed down, is not something given. It is forged. You think Carnegie built his empire by accident? He believed wealth was his right because he understood value. You think Disney created magic just from talent? No, he believed in the unseen, even when the world called him delusional. And so must you, because the world will doubt you. It will laugh at you. It will call your vision impossible. But it's not their job to see it. It's your job to believe anyway. Because belief is not about what's real right now. It's about what you're willing to make real. Clarity fuels belief. You cannot believe in a fog. You cannot fight for a life you haven't fully envisioned. So stop, be still, and get clear. Not just on what you want, but on why you're here. Your mind is the map, but your vision is the compass. You must see it clearly, vividly, obsessively. Not just when you're motivated, but when you're tired, when you're rejected, when nothing seems to be working. Because that is when most people quit. Not because the dream was wrong, but because the vision wasn't strong enough to pull them through the storm. A man with no vision is a man already defeated. But a man with vision, you can't stop him. You can't distract him. You can't break him. Because he's not moving on emotion. He's moving on conviction. And conviction is louder than fear. It's stronger than setbacks. It's immune to criticism. This is the fire that begins in the mind, but doesn't stay there. It spreads. It moves through your body. It sharpens your actions. It aligns your speech. It commands your energy. And now, your thoughts, beliefs, clarity, and vision are no longer separate. They are one. You are becoming one. Focused, grounded, unshakable, not because life got easier, but because you got clearer. Now that your thoughts have formed belief, and your belief has carved clarity, you must move, because the mind without motion is fantasy. Vision without discipline is a hallucination. Action is the bridge between the invisible and the inevitable. But not just any action, not scattered movement, not frantic chasing. What you need now is disciplined execution. A way of life where your habits are in contract with your vision. Because discipline is not punishment. It's a declaration. It says, I will no longer wait to feel ready. I will no longer negotiate with weakness. I will no longer allow my destiny to be delayed by comfort. Discipline is the daily decision to become who your vision demands. And it's not loud. It doesn't post every win. It doesn't need applause. It works in the shadows, where no one claps, no one sees, and no one saves you. The disciplined man is dangerous, because he doesn't need to be motivated. He's moved by purpose, not pleasure. He's sculpted by commitment, not convenience. While others rest on emotion, he rises on identity. You see, discipline is not about forcing action. It's about becoming the person who naturally does the hard things. You don't need to fight for consistency. When consistency is who you are, you don't need to chase success. When success is simply a byproduct of your habits, it's no longer I have to. It becomes this is what I do. This is what I am. And when your identity shifts, when you no longer see yourself as a dreamer, but as a builder, as a force, as a standard, everything around you bends to match it, because identity is gravity. It pulls your behavior into alignment. It makes discipline feel natural. It removes the war between what you want and what you do. But make no mistake, this doesn't happen overnight. You will fall. You will doubt. You will hear old voices trying to resurrect your old self. And that's when you must decide. Do I rise or do I return? Do I press forward or do I retreat into habits that once kept me small? You cannot bring your old self into your new destiny. That version must die, so the real you can rise. The disciplined version. The unstoppable version. The focused, faithful, fierce version of you. Who acts, not out of desperation, but out of deep alignment with their purpose. And here's what they don't tell you. Once you align your thoughts, your belief, your vision, and your action, the world begins to respond in strange, miraculous ways. Doors open. Opportunities appear. People shift. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You no longer beg life to be easier. You became someone stronger. You no longer wish for miracles. You move like one. And as your mind sharpens, as your thoughts, beliefs, and actions move in perfect alignment, a deeper power begins to awaken. Gratitude, not the kind whispered out of politeness, not the cliché quotes hung on office walls. I'm talking about spiritual gratitude, the kind that rises in your chest after you've been broken, and realize that the breaking was a gift. Gratitude is the highest frequency of power, because when you are truly grateful, you are not chasing, you are receiving. When you train your mind to find purpose in the pain, you become dangerous, because no storm can take from a man who sees it all as part of the process. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start saying, thank you for trusting me with this mountain, because you must know I was born to move it. Gratitude doesn't mean you stop growing. It means you grow with joy. It means you build not from scarcity but from overflow. When you operate from gratitude, you don't need to prove yourself to anyone. You don't move from insecurity. You move from wholeness. You rise each day not because you're afraid to lose, but because you're blessed to build. And in that space, resilience becomes natural, because gratitude fuels endurance. It reminds you of how far you've come, so the distance left doesn't intimidate you. The world will test you. Life will still shake you. But when your roots run deep in gratitude, the winds can scream, but you remain. You've been rejected, and yet you kept going. You've been forgotten, and still you rose. You've had seasons where no one clapped, no one believed. And yet here you are, still moving forward. That's not weakness. That's divine resilience. And resilience is more than endurance. It is the ability to return stronger. Not just to survive the hit, but to become more powerful because of it. And when your mind is tuned into gratitude, you don't fear the struggle. You welcome it. You say, break me open. I'll use every shattered piece to build something holy. You learn to smile in the fire, to dance with discomfort, to treat every setback like sacred instruction, because your thoughts are no longer enslaved to what's happening. They're aligned with what's becoming. You begin to sense that you're no longer operating in isolation. You are tuned into something bigger, something intelligent, something unseen. Call it God. Call it Source. Call it infinite intelligence, as Hill did. Whatever name you give it, you feel it now moving through you. Every thought becomes a prayer. Every action an offering. Every day, a ritual of transformation. This is when you no longer fight the universe. You partner with it. Your destiny is no longer a distant hope. It is a living contract with the divine. And that contract, it's sealed with belief, signed with gratitude, and fulfilled with relentless action. You're not just mastering your thoughts. You are learning to command reality. Because the world doesn't give you what you wish for. It gives you what you're aligned with, what you're prepared for, what you've become worthy of. And you, through discipline, clarity, resilience, and gratitude, are becoming inevitable. And now, standing at the edge of everything you were, and everything you're becoming, you realize it was never about motivation. It was never about luck. It was never even about talent. It was about ownership. The moment you stopped blaming, stopped waiting, stopped begging for life to hand you peace, and chose to build it yourself. This is the truth they never teach. Your life will never rise higher than your dominant thought. So if you think in limits, you will live in lack. But if you think in truth, if you see with faith, if you speak with power, your world will bow to that energy. Because your mind is a magnet. And when you master it, you no longer chase. You attract. You no longer force. You flow. You no longer exist in reaction. You create on command. That's not magic. That's alignment. This is the final evolution. When thought becomes belief. Belief becomes identity. Identity becomes action. And action becomes destiny. You don't need to see the whole path. You don't need the world to believe in you. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment. Because you are the moment. You are the spark. The signal. The cause. And every single day, every thought you choose, is shaping the story that the world will one day tell about you. So choose with intention. Speak with vision. Walk with conviction. Don't let fear write your legacy. Don't let the noise of the world drown the whisper of your soul. And don't you dare hand your future to a mind that hasn't been trained. This is your life. This is your time. And no one is coming to do it for you. But that's the most powerful truth of all. Because once you stop waiting for a rescue, you become the revolution. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be present, disciplined, devoted, dangerously focused. Your thoughts are your tools. Your vision is your weapon. And your identity is the throne you must now claim. So build your mind like a fortress. Sharpen your beliefs like steel. Move like fire. Speak like thunder. And walk like destiny has no choice but to follow your steps. Because when you master your thoughts, you don't just change your day, your week, your year. You change the entire trajectory of your life. You become the architect of your world, the author of your legend, the one who rose from silence and forged a voice of thunder. You were not born to drift. You were born to design. And now you know the truth. Master your thoughts. Master your destiny.